Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday night. We keep changing the show times of the show, so I'm sure everybody's trying to figure out where we are. We got technical difficulties. I ran in the house running late. I kicked over all my wires. You can't figure out your lighting. We're a mess, man.
Yeah, so right now I got a sock on top of my laptop here to minimize the glare from this light. So yeah, we're rolling here on a Wednesday.
This is true professionalism right here. We got wires hanging, we got socks hanging. We're doing it all right here, man.
Well, yo, there's a ton of Jets news actually that we got to break down that came out this week, right? I mean, we had a couple of OTA practice recaps, I would say, and then we've heard from a lot of different people. Keith Carter spoke. I don't know if you caught wind of that. That actually didn't get released on the Jets website or anything. I think that was basically just beat reporters recapping his conversation. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to kind of get into.
So, hello, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us at these random times. We're going to be announcing a steady time for each week as we get closer to training camp. But I guess what we want... Oh, Robert Saleh. I actually have some breaking news. Robert Saleh has breaking news for you, which is going to be interesting.
Sweet. Let's hear it.
But I guess let's start with, the biggest story right now is the Hassan Reddick contract, where right now he's not showing up at the voluntary workouts, which is no surprise because he doesn't have any guaranteed money. I wouldn't show up either. I think when you trade for a player of his stature who wanted a new contract in Philadelphia, there's no surprise he wants a new deal here. He's not showing up now. I'm guessing he shows up for mandatory minicamp, but do the Jets have themselves in a pickle here? Or are they going to say, you know what? You can want all the money you want. We're going to let you play this season out. We'll deal with you after the season.
I just don't common sense would tell you that Joe Douglas, right? A GM who is, I mean, he hangs on to his picks. He doesn't just let him go for hardly anything. He's not like a Mike McCagnon type, just trading him away for, any sort of star player. It seems like he really values draft picks, draft compensation. I don't see him trading away, a conditional third that jumps to a 2 for a player that hasn't played for the Jets yet on an expiring contract, who is disgruntled, and the reason why he's leaving his first team is because he wants a new deal. I just don't see JD trading away a valuable pick, adding a guy like that, and then just saying you're gonna just play out this deal, and that's gonna be it. Especially with the whole Bryce Huff situation as well.
Now, the question I have for you is, now he has, I think it's like $14.5 million non-guaranteed, right? But it's a big cap hit. So it's like, all right, it makes sense for the Jets to give him a deal. You can offset the cap hit this year, and work it out. But how many years do you want to give him? Because for me, I'm living in the world of the next 2 years are important. This year and next year. That's assuming that Aaron Rodgers plays next year. So that's the kind of window I'm doing. But if Reddick wants a 3 or 4 year deal, are you willing to do that to keep him in the mix? He's still a very good pass rusher, a great mentor from Will McDonald. He's going to help out, Jermaine Johnson a lot. What is your contract stature for him?
I would say probably a 2-year deal.
Yep.
I think that's in line with some of the young players that we have on the roster. Anything more than a 2-year deal. Look, it's not to say if the Jet, if news comes out tomorrow, Jets sign him to a 3 or a 4 year, it's bad news, right? Yeah. But I just can't get around Joe Douglas drafting Jermaine Johnson in round 1, Will McDonald in round 1, and then trading away or letting Bryce Huff walk, trading something valuable, getting a guy in the building at 29 years old, and giving him just the money or more money that he would have given Bryce Huff at an older age. And granted, Hassan Reddick up to this point is a better football player. He is a better pass rusher. He's more consistent. I think the argument is Huff's upside is probably bigger.
Yep.
We haven't seen Huff reach his peak yet, whereas with Reddick, we know he's a consistent double-digit sack guy, which for me that's good enough, right? I will take that every single day of the week, but it comes down to, I mean, we're kind of seeing something a little similar at corner with Sauce. He's going to get paid. Michael Carter, I would assume, is going to get paid.
We'll get into them next. Same thing, and DJ Reed too. But I guess my thing with Reddick though is like he knows his value, and you look at his age. He's going to be what? I think he's 29 or whatever else. Almost 30 years old. Mm-hmm. This could be, in theory, his last big payday. Coming off 3 seasons, he has 38 sacks over the last 3 years. You know, the numbers are crazy, dude. Like pass rushers get paid in the NFL. This could be his last big payday where he's like, you know what? There's rumors in Philadelphia he wanted $20 million a year. I think Connor Hughes said he wanted up to maybe $30 million a year. Like, to me, the Jets make this move with an eye like we want to keep him here for at least a couple of years. That's it's got to be a common sense move, right? But if that money is that money worth giving him when you have to pay Jermaine Johnson right down the road? You're going to have to pay Sauce and Garrett and Brees. Like, how much money are you willing to give this guy? Or do you say, you know what, how about this? We guarantee you a lot of money this year. You have no guaranteed money this year. We guarantee, say, whatever, 10 million this year. We give you X amount next year, and that's how they keep him happy. You think that will suffice?
It's tough, man. I think at the end of the day, news will come out. I want to say, like, maybe once we get into training camp, like after the Jets actually have a chance to work with him and he can, you know, meet with Robert Saleh. According to Saleh, they haven't had any contact, which is weird. But once those guys get together, maybe that's the breaking news, by the way, that Saleh has talked to Reddick. But
you didn't see you didn't see his breaking news. His breaking news is he's the sexiest coach. That was his breaking news.
Okay. Was that? I think I actually saw like an article or something like that.
I read this.
That was posted on it, but anyway, no, I think Reddick will eventually, or the Jets will eventually offer Reddick a deal. I think probably a 2-year contract that makes the most sense. He's going to be 31 years old, and it also lines up with the timelines of the rookie contracts potentially expiring, like Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, right? So if Reddick's deal is coming to an end, and you're in the final deal of, you know, Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald, then it's like, all right, now we're in a position where we can only pay one, and we've seen, you know, these guys for a couple years. I think at that point it would just be, you know, you can take what you give Reddick and just give it to Johnson or, you know, McDonald, you know, whichever. But I would assume it would be Johnson.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how this is handled. I truly hope he shows up for mandatory minicamp because you don't want this distraction, man. Like, this team is like an all-in year, so much positive momentum, but there are some serious contract issues that are coming up. And so Reddick is the first one, getting a lot of, you know, question how they're going to handle that. The next one for me is DJ Reed, who is a guy where he's heading into a contract year as well, man. And it's like, you look at you look at the secondary there, he's a valuable piece, but it's like, you're going to have to pay Sauce. How do you handle DJ Reed? And you have Michael Carter the second as well, where you can only allocate so much money to the secondary. But to me, it's like, again, I'm going back to my Reddick thing where it's like the next 2 years mean so much to me. If I can get Reddick back next year, if I can get DJ Reed in the mix next year as well, I kind of want to do that. But Reed could be in the same boat as Reddick, where it's like, listen, this is like a Pro Bowl caliber, you know, corner. I want my last big payday as well. I don't want your 2-year deal. I want 4 years. I want to make my big time money before, you know, it goes away.
I think it's, dude, the DJ Reed thing. I think the Jets would rather re-sign Reddick than re-sign DJ Reed.
I think so too.
That's not necessarily what how I feel. I want to bring both guys back, but one fair argument or a fair question that has to be asked. First of all, Sauce is going to become the highest paid corner in football, and these guys are getting paid a ton nowadays, right? Michael Carter is performing like a top 5 slot corner in football. He's going to get, in my opinion, a long-term extension, as he should. So if you're assuming that Gardner and Carter both get a ton of money in extensions, how much is DJ Reed going to get offered from the Jets? Like, do the Jets really want to go in? Because look, if we offer, let's just say Gardner 20 plus, Carter, we make him a top 5 slot, top 5 paid
10 million, 10 million per.
Yeah, somewhere I think actually the highest paid slot corner contract right now is 11 mil. So it would
Yep.
be, yeah, right in that ballpark. Um, do you want to go out and give DJ Reed like another 13, 14 per mil? So now you're looking at like 40, like around that $40 million mark per season just at corner.
Yeah.
And then, another thing to keep in mind, Morgan Moses 1-year deal, Mike Williams 1-year deal.
Exactly.
Tyron Smith, I mean, I know we drafted his replacement in Olu, but a couple 1-year deals there. What happens with Ashton Davis and some Kinlaw? What if he looks good? And like Ifotu, another 1-year contract. So on paper right now, I think the Jets are expected to have right around 70 million in cap space for 2025, which sounds great. It's awesome. But the second we start bringing these guys back, that number is going to shoot down. So
yeah, but I think, but you can do creative accounting with DJ Reed and Reddick to not really kill that cap next year. You kind of kick it down the street a couple years, maybe 2 years from now could be a problem. But I hear what you're saying. I think I get the feeling that DJ Reed's gonna be the odd man out in this. I do, and the reason why is I think Michael Carter II is so young, he's so good. You've literally watched him prosper in this defense at a crucial position where he's like, listen, we keep Sauce, we assume that you have him in the slot. We could find a guy to figure out that other corner spot at maybe draft a guy, everybody like Stiggers or whoever else, but maybe find somebody else. But like you can't allocate that much money when you have to pay legitimate superstars at 2 other positions. Like, what I mean? Like it's so Sauce is gonna get mega money, but you got to worry about Garrett, you got to worry about Brees. And I think if DJ Reed is gonna be the price you pay to keep these other 2 guys, I think you almost have to do that and bank on having a very good pass rush that'll start, taking the pressure off of the secondary.
Yeah, for sure. And like another thing too that I feel like has to be asked is or I guess maybe like a realization. It's like no team is really perfect at a position year after year after year after, like Cromartie and Revis, great Jets tandem.
Exactly.
But it's not like they were here for 10 years. So do the Jets want to go down the route of Gardner, Michael Carter in the slot, and then Eccles as that outside guy, Quantez, like you said before? I think I saw Quantez's name, Trevor, was talking about Stiggers before. Supposedly he's turning heads, which is awesome. But then, you could always make an argument, well, what happens in the first round next year, right? If the Jets get the 25th pick, the 26th pick, I mean, look at where the number 1 corner in this year's class went, 22. Corner 2 went to Detroit, Terrion Arnold, like bottom of round 1. Not saying that's going to happen, next year, but it goes to show that you can go out and draft a starting caliber cornerback on a cheap rookie contract in round 1 and feel really good about it. So, the Saints got McKinstry in round 2. So, I think just reading the tea leaves here, Joe Douglas would probably want to go down that route as opposed to paying another 13, 14, 15 million a year for DJ Reed. He'd rather save that, give it to Reddick, give it to Moses, whoever, give it to a new player, star safety or something like that, and then go out and draft maybe a corner in round 1 or 2 next year.
Yep. No, I agree. I think that's kind of where you have to approach it. And it sucks because this isn't like we don't like DJ Reed. We all love DJ Reed, but it's just a matter of when you have this much talent, when you're playing at a Pro Bowl level, you got to figure out ways to keep them all, and somebody's going to pay the price for trying to do that. So I think you do that when I think also it's for a long time, the secondary has been carrying the defense where they haven't been really getting enough pass rush, where now we want to kind of swing that where the pass rush is dominating, taking some of the pressure off the secondary. Then you get, so you don't need 3 Pro Bowlers. You could have Sauce, Michael Carter II, and say, we'll take a chance on the other outside corner. You can give him help, you can do things, but we can spend that money otherwise because we need it elsewhere, right? So it's, and again, I love DJ Reed. I would hope they find a way to keep him next year. But if I'm him, I'm like, you know what? I came here. I was an excellent teammate, excellent role model. I helped mentor Sauce. I've earned my big payday, and I'm at the point in my career where I want that payday because how many more years I have left, I can get paid this max money, right? Or that even top tier money. It's not many left. So I could see if it goes down that stance. And go ahead.
Yeah, no, just to kind of piggyback off your point, let's just, because there's a lot of moving parts with this whole, who to pay in specifically looking at 2025, like how it impacts the cap. But let's just say hypothetical, Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. he throws to Mike Williams all year. He has 1,150 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns. 1-year contract. You think he's going to want to come back in for what he just got? Absolutely not. He's going to want 18 million per season. So it's like, where does that money come from? If you're JD and Stigers looks really good in camp, or Eccles, continues to progress as a player, he might just say, you know what? We feel good about corner. We already have a great one in slot. Let's, not necessarily cut our losses, but let's just save the money there, throw it to Mike Williams at a position where we might not be as deep.
No, I agree. Especially when you're thinking you're probably going to give Sauce max money. He's probably going to be the highest paid corner in football. That's expected. That money is going to be monumental. Where it's like, all right, we can't. Like, it's it's the name of the game with the salary cap. So you have him. I think I would like to see the Jets get something done with Michael Carter second. Like, be proactive. Like, I'm hoping the Jets learn from the Bryce Huff experience. Where they're like, oh, we're going to let him play it out and see what happens in the offseason. Like, you have the opportunity now to be like other teams, whatever, the Ravens, the Eagles, whoever else, to be proactive and get a deal done. And that's, I think, hoping that Joe Douglas learned his lesson there. I mean, is it safe to say that? Because you figure they're going into what? Mandatory minicamp is less than a week away. Training camp is, a month and a half away. Why not get a deal done? Like, because if Michael Carter II plays a full year at another, say, very high caliber level, he's going to want to test the market. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go free agency. Let me see what money I can get there. Like, why would I stay here? Right?
Yeah, for sure. And I wrote down some Michael Carter stats, which were like fantastic. I'm trying to find them here in my notebook, but I'm right there with you. I mean, the chances of you finding a top 5 player in the NFL at a specific position in round 5 on his rookie deal, where he's barely getting paid anything, compared to what these other cornerbacks are getting paid. I think, Colts gave Kenny Moore a 3-year $30 million, 16 guaranteed. The Bills gave Taron Johnson, I think, 3 years, 33.
Yep.
So, I mean, man, like, is that, like, if news comes out tomorrow, is literally anybody going to be mad at that? I think like 99.9% of Jets fans are going to be like, sweet, man, like, homegrown player. Finally, we're getting ahead of, a contract extension. We're not letting it linger. We're not pissing the player off. We're not disrespecting him, in that regard. Unfortunately, though, Rich Cimini did report that the extension talks haven't even began.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot changes. I think a lot changes once mandatory minicamp comes, you get closer to training camp. I think a lot, like, this is kind of like a dead time where, like, agents start slowly getting involved and all those things. But I'm really hoping that they get something done with him, because there's ways to create cap space this year if you want to make a big move at the trade deadline. Like, that's something we keep talking about. Like, oh, this guy could be available, that guy could be available. Well, you need cap space to do that. So if you do something with Reddick or Reed or get Michael Carter done, whatever ways you can handle things, you can create cap space. And I'm thinking that's the way they have to go here, because you don't want distraction. But you also, like, it'd be such a message to the locker room keeping Mike Carter second, dude. Like that is like a feel-good story. Like, you hit it like a diamond in the rough here. He's taking off right in front of your eyes. He's close to everybody. He does all the right things. You're staying, right? That's the way you want to do it.
Yeah. AC. Yeah, he works for Michael Carter. No, I just like him as a player, man. I mean, I think, especially like in today's day and age with all the throwing, all the shotgun, all, the talented slot wide receivers, you got, guys on the outside that can line up on the inside, just move them all around. Those guys are important to have. And I think he is kind of a fan favorite because he's like a hard worker. Another really, really cool thing about Carter too is that he plays. He's never dealt with some big injury. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the whole when we were having the debate about Quinnen Williams signing his extension.
Yes.
So Ed, what's up, man?
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. We're kind of like doing more in these impromptu like shows at 8:30 on a Wednesday. So we talked about Reddick, DJ Reed, Mike Carter II. Some other interesting players that are coming up that I want to get your takes on. The Chuck Clark thing is really interesting because Salah seems to love him, but he's coming off a serious injury. But I think they're going to rely on him a lot in the secondary, man. I really think so, because he's got to be a versatile piece of the puzzle next to Tony Adams, next to Ashton Davis. And he's definitely got a chip on his shoulder. He's like, listen, I hate the way it ended in Baltimore. I'm bummed out the way it ended last year with me here getting hurt so early on. Like, are the expectations for him like that high where we don't have to consider looking at any free agent guys that are still out there?
It's tough because well, first of all, whenever you're talking about a guy coming off a lower body injury, um, where you miss literally the entire regular season, preseason, training camp, all that, because I think Chuck Clark got hurt in the off season.
He did.
Yeah, so I mean, man, he's missed a lot of time. I don't think the Jets have seen outside of this little couple week period here. They haven't had him in an actual practice yet. So obviously, it's important that he is healthy and he is flying around. That he looked the same, compared to like he basically looks like how he did with Baltimore. But I think he will. I mean, maybe that's just me being optimistic, but I think if the Jets had a legitimate problem there, they would have identified it pretty early on within the first couple of practices and voluntary OTAs. I guess the good news is, in the event that Clark doesn't really look up to par, which I think he will, but in the event that he doesn't, there's tons of safeties out there that we can still go out there and get. Although, dude, I don't know if you saw, but Justin Simmons, I think, was hinting at going to Miami.
I saw that. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But I think that's a lot of positions on his team right now where it's like they're using OTAs and mandatory minicamp coming up to be like the trial run. Let's see what these guys actually are. What kind of shape are they in? How are they fitting in? How are they molding? And then after that, you can assess, okay, listen, we don't really feel comfortable with this going to training camp. Let's make a change. I think the next couple of weeks is kind of where they figure out what do we really have on our roster, where are they at, where everybody has to be there. As a team, you're there, you see, and then you say, okay, you know what? Let's make a change. And going to training camp, you can be more aggressive with things. Now, an interesting story that's coming out is Braylon Allen, and it's catching the ball out of the backfield and down the field. And the running back room in general, and the one guy you didn't hear anything about is Izzy, which is kind of scary, but it's exciting to hear about the young rookie running backs doing all these things and catching the ball in the backfield, which is kind of like the thing you're worried about. Where are they one-dimensional? Are they just bulldozers? Are they these big power backs that can only do like one-trick ponies? How are they going to be in blitz pickup? But the early reports are really good in these guys.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, running back is also one of these positions where, I feel like it has the most boom potential in the draft. In like if you're talking about, I need to draft a superstar in round 4. What's the best? What position are my chances the highest of landing at that star player? I think it's running back. I mean, I feel like year after year after year, we're seeing guys getting drafted in the mid to late rounds. They just come in and boom, they're franchise running backs right off the bat. Also, too, I think voluntary OTAs is like a weird time for running backs. So I don't want to jump to conclusions at this point in time. I'm pumped about all the news, but I think when pads come on, we can see running backs go in either direction, right? Like it wouldn't surprise me if pads come on, we start having these padded contact practices, and all of a sudden Izzy is shining, right? He's making more plays, and again, running backs can kind of go either way once it's actually padded contact practices. So we'll see, but yeah, I think Braylon Allen, really, no matter what team he landed on coming out of Wisconsin, was going to be an impactful piece. I really like his game.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Like, again, it's so like this is the only news we have. So it's like you react to it because you get excited, but you're like, all right, they're not in pads, it's not live drills. You get all that, but it's like this is the only news we can discuss. And the concern you had about both these guys was, can they catch the ball consistently? Because you want to have a dynamic offense, you want to figure all these things out. We'll do a question from your favorite guy, Oscar the Grouch. Tyson and Ian,
what's up, man?
Tyson and Ian, what's your thoughts on all the Jet fans pissed at Olu for wearing Nick Mangold's 74?
I mean, personally, I'm not mad. If the Jets wanted to, block off that number, they should have just retired it, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't care. If Mangold's cool with it, he's cool with it. I genuinely don't care. Now, we went from a lot of positives in OTAs to one of your favorite players, a guy that we've talked about extensively over the last 3 months, and that is your boy, Alan Lazard, who still can't catch the football. And I think he's not going anywhere because I'm not going to cut him, because you lose money by cutting him. I will honestly say I'm shocked, dude. I literally thought after last year, where he was horrible on and off the field, but so many things went wrong, he would end up being inactive. His quarterback is back. He'd come back more motivated than ever, knowing that he's playing for a contract, probably somewhere else, but he's playing for a contract. He's got to come in just and light it up, be consistent, and he's still very just dropping the ball. Every report you see from training camp or from OTAs is He's, one good catch, 2 bad drops. I'm shocked that it's going down this direction still with Lazard. Understanding there's a lot of time, to training camp in the season, but it seems like these young guys are passing him by now.
It's one of the weirdest situations, and I don't mean to sound like over dramatic, but to me, it's one of the weirdest situations that I've seen with a free agent. Because look, every NFL team has free agent busts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Albert Hainsworth, like every team has at least one. One guy is just a disaster signing. But with Lazard, I felt like he was in such a position to have success, whether it was him having experience working with Hackett, his former OC, him coming in and already having a leg up on the system, him already knowing that he can fit the system. He has other Packers teammates, Billy Turner, Adrian Amos, Tim Boyle, of course, when he did sign Randall Cobb. Aaron Rodgers was still there, throughout the course of training camp. It wasn't until, week 1 where Rodgers got hurt. So, like, everything is just in the right spot for Lazard to have success. He just has to go out and execute and catch the football. But if he's not doing that, I don't know. I mean, I guarantee you, man, like if you go on YouTube right now and just watch Allen Lazard highlights, spend 15 minutes doing that, you're going to be like, dude, we got a solid receiver. Not great, not a top 10 guy, but this guy can make some plays for us this season. And then you look at last year, and now you're looking at some of these reports, it's just a really tough pill to swallow, because I feel like he's coming in with more of a leg up than really any other free agents outside of guys that already have familiarity with the coaching staff and some of the players. So it's a really weird situation, in my opinion.
It's so disappointing. It is so disappointing, man. It's just, I just thought that the Rodgers effect alone would be like, all right, this entire offseason, hit the reset button, come back and prove who you are and what we thought you were, and we gave you all this money. And it's been it's been obvious that's not the case. And it's like, all right, maybe Mike Williams will help him out. Maybe there's got to be somebody that can get through to him and say, listen, you have too much talent to suck. You can't be this colossal bust. You showed your ability at some point in the NFL. That didn't go away. You still have it. You can do it. But that to me is the one downside other than the contract talk of camp so far. Is like, man, it's just disappointing, because you need him to step up. Like, everybody loves Corley and Gibson and everybody else, but you kind of want to have that veteran guy to kind of, make a difference here.
Yeah, dude. I mean, just thinking about Lazard, like early on in the days of Green Bay, like I felt like he would come down with tough catches. He would really put his body on the line. He was freaking dominant at Iowa State, man. Like, he was so good. I actually had the chance to interview him when he was coming out, and he was like the coolest dude, super nice, super chill. I'm shocked that he just was a healthy scratch, a year ago. And it's such a tough situation, because literally, like, I felt like everywhere you turned last year, like, Hackett's to blame, the O-line's to blame, injuries are to blame, Saleh's to blame, Douglas is to blame. Like, there was so much blame to go around. So I don't want to just lump it all on Lazard and just say, man, this guy's absolutely terrible. If he's, if we enter 2024 and he's still a healthy scratch with Rodgers out there and, in year 2 with the Jets, then yeah, I don't know. I think it would just be time to, make the cut.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like something to keep an eye on, especially that position of need where you have help. Now, the Jets made a signing, and we talked about this for a little while, where it's like, we'd like to have a veteran running back in the room, kind of what we were looking for. Like, you know what? We're talking about Ezekiel Elliott and Cordell Patterson, all these guys and the money. And these guys signed for cheap all across the NFL. Then you got Tariq Cohen came out of nowhere, where it's like, all right, I've always liked him, dealt with some serious injuries, but it seems like a low risk, high reward kind of move. But he's a guy that's been to the Pro Bowl and an excellent mentor for this young room, right? Because you figure Breece Hall, while as great as Breece Hall is, he's still kind of finding his way in the NFL. Cohen's been there, done that. I think it's an excellent asset for the running back room in general. And then you look at just his price is cheap. So if he comes out and he's explosive on returns and can do some things, great. If not, like, no risk, no reward. Like, what were your thoughts on that move?
Yeah, I was shocked by it. I did not see, like, if the Jets are going to be signing a free agent, I did not think it was going to be a 5th running back, I think the whole new kickoff rule is going to be really intriguing. And I kind of get the feeling that it is going to be Izzy and Cohen battling it out through preseason for that RB4 spot, which could potentially be a practice squad player. because Allen and Davis aren't getting cut. They were just drafted this year, and then Brees is, Brees Hall. So, there has to unfortunately be an odd man out. If Izzy's slipping down the depth chart, it's not looking great for him right now. But again, we're just in voluntary OT, so I don't want to overreact. If we're 2 weeks into camp and he's still slipping, still not getting opportunities, then I would probably, have to. Because the reality is, man, like, what NFL team dresses 5 running backs
You
on
can't,
game day?
yeah.
What
No.
team dresses 4? Maybe that's going to look a little different with the new rule, but it's pretty much 3. And I feel like we have 3 guys on the roster, not named Izzy, that will be here pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, and you had like a specialist role, but then you got to be a contributor on special teams. You got to be like on the return units and everything else like that. So really interesting. I mean, it was an interesting name. I'm like, wow, that came out of nowhere. Like that kind of surprised me a little bit. You figure most of the roster moves are done now. There's not anything going to happen until at the mandatory mini camp. Now, your best friend Keith Carter spoke. Now, I didn't get all of it, so give me a glimpse of what he said. From what I've heard, is he's changing his approach because last year the young players complained a lot of the way he communicates. He's tough on people. They didn't agree with certain things, and I guess he addressed it. So give me like a summary of what he said, so I can overreact.
Yeah, let me just pull up the quotes here. Okay, so Connor Hughes, SNY, Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic had 2 like separate pieces on it. So Connor Hughes said, not verbatim here because these quotes are really, really long, but essentially Keith Carter was asked about coaching, his coaching style and whatnot. And supposedly Carter said that he's trying to evolve as a coach. He's turned to mentors like Tom Cable, who was his former Raider,
Yep.
or former Raider coach. Let's see here. Let me just try to scan through here really quick. So here's an exact quote. Let's see. Okay, so the gist of it here is the Jets and Keith Carter feel better about the offensive line this season because they have more veterans as opposed to rookies. He did say that, the yelling and essentially screaming is going to be worked on. Right. But for me, like, I just don't. I feel like there's more to the story, and that's just me completely assuming it. But the way I kind of look at it is, these football players are in high school. They're, more than likely they're at big time high school programs. Mm-hmm. They're receiving hard coaching. They go to D1 college football, and it's not everybody's just talking to these guys. In other words, they're hitting the NFL. Yeah. Like, it's not like they haven't been yelled at before. So what is it about Keith Carter's yelling and timing to where it's so bad that you have multiple Jets voicing their displeasure, you have former Titans voicing their displeasure? And another thing too, I feel like is relevant to talk about, it would be, I feel like, less of an issue if his message resonated and the line was a top 5 unit or a top 10, top half of the league. But if you got multiple players on the Jets, multiple former players, and your bottom 5, in football, then I think there's a pretty big issue there. Now, of course, the Jets kept him around. So, it's not like the Jets are going to do anything about it now or bring in a different offensive line coach. We're going to be rolling with him. And it seems like Saleh raves about him.
Yeah,
every time he gets. Rodgers has spoke highly of him. But, yeah, I mean, the numbers speak or say otherwise.
And that was my biggest concern last year. It's like if this team was if they were overachieving and doing like things like that, but they looked like they were lost, dazed, confused, didn't know which way what their blocking schemes. They didn't know anything, and there wasn't any adjustments either. So it's like, who can you blame? We blamed Hackett for a lot of things, but the O-line coach has to take some blame. Then when you hear the players openly say that, then you know something's wrong. And then when you figure when they had the end of season exit interviews, when the players give their honest assessment of their coaching, what they receive, all that. They had to get a ton of feedback too. Like, listen, this message is getting through, and here's why. The Jets doubled down and said, you know what? We're going to keep him. He's going to adjust his ways. Okay. and he's going to own it. He owned it. Like Hackett owned a lot of things too. They're all owning their mistakes. Saleh did, Hackett did, Carter did. They're all owning it, which is great. Now you got to show it to us. But it's interesting because, it's been done in the past. Like Tom Coughlin changed the way he coached, and it worked out for the Giants. But it's just weird that his problem in Tennessee kind of came here with him. And it's like, all right, he actually is as advertised, right? He's kind of like, it's kind of just, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, even like his last season in Tennessee, it wasn't all that great. What was super weird was I remembered when I remember doing a video about the Jets bringing him in, and there was a really big response from Titans fans, essentially saying, "Hey man, cross your fingers, good luck. Thank God he's gone." And I thought it was weird because the only time that's ever happened before was Hackett, with Broncos fans, and they're saying like, dude, like thank God he's, we got Sean Payton and everything, he's long gone. Good luck with them. But outside of those two, but it's weird with Keith Carter because he's a positional coach. I don't think I've ever received, messages or comments from a fan base about a coach that the Jets are bringing in at a positional level. I mean, I guess maybe to Adam Gase a little bit, but that was just super obvious. Everybody, and I guess, to Nathaniel Hackett, like super obvious. Everybody kind of knew that, but just from a positional coach's, from a positional coach standpoint, just this huge pushback of, whoa, like this, you guys better have a lot of things figured out because this did not go well in Tennessee. So, yeah.
It's interesting. It's something we obviously can keep an eye on because this is like a monumental year for the Jets where the expectation is win the AFC East, make a deep run in the playoffs. And the highlight of all that is that it's hard. Like last year when Aaron Rodgers first came here and you see him throw the ball, you're like, oh my God, this guy, this is like a dream come true. He's our quarterback. We had all these high expectations. He goes down to 4 plays and then it sucks the life out of you. So then we've been friends for a while now. Like in the offseason when it first started, I was miserable as hell, dude. I was like, I hate everything. I'm not buying in. I'm not going to suck me back in. And you're watching Aaron Rodgers throw the ball again, dude. And you're like, I'm back. Like I am 1000%. You have to be because like you see things like, first of all, we're not used to seeing it in general. We've had lousy quarterbacks for years, right? Like that we never see these kind of throws ever. We saw some, but now it's like you see he's back. Looks like he's fully healthy, doing a lot of great things. The connection with Garrett Wilson. It's hard to not get excited again, right? Like you've got to be like, you know what? I can't worry about the injury. I can't worry about this. I got to like have faith in him being fully healthy, fully recovered, and his ability to stay healthy for 17 games and see what happens, right? Because the throws you see now, man, they're ridiculous again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things that have me really, really excited for this season, the offensive line is so much better. Yeah, I feel like we got multiple upgrades all across the board. Guys are getting healthy and whatnot. And then number two, we have more depth on the offensive line. We have depth at quarterback in the event that, God forbid Rodgers were to go down again. We have a somebody who can go in there. In my opinion, I would say a top 3 to 5 backup in football who can go out and win games. I mean, he won games for the Giants a year ago, kept them in games. He doesn't turn the football over. I think he's 28 and 1 as a career starter. And then his TD INT ratio is crazy. I don't remember the exact number. It's 60 something TDs to 20 something INTs throughout the course of his football career. And that's, a really, really good ratio.
Yeah, no, it is. And then the other part is the comment is, to be honest, I think Tyron Smith will be coaching a line. First of all, thank you, Dante. But the Tyron Smith things are wild, dude. To see the feedback that everybody's giving him, like the man that he is, the tenacity he has, his preparation, attention to detail, and how that's translating to Olu, but all that, it's amazing, dude.
Dude, that was to me like one of the biggest things, one of the most important, I guess maybe factors in drafting Olu Fashanu was you have Tyron Smith there, like such a great role model and leader, somebody who can lead by example, somebody who's played amazing football throughout the course of his career, somebody who has, a similar kind of backstory as well, as far as just him being that go-to pass protector on the left side, which is what Fashanu was at Penn State. Somebody like that, just to take Olu under his wing, a highly, highly talented player in Fashanu who could have been a top 10 pick in 2022. He comes back to school and still a top 10 pick. I just love that pairing.
Here's a question for you.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
I think I knocked my router out again. Am I all right? Am I glitching at all, or no? Am I right?
No, you're good. You're good.
So the question is, Ian, will you turn Tyson into a positive Jet fan this time instead of Tyson turning you into a miserable fan? Come on, man.
I'll say this: it wasn't Tyson that turned me into a miserable Jet fan. It was just, it was the combination. Because look, in recent years where the Jets have struggled, whether it was like Todd Bowles in the offense or Adam Gase with, I guess, everything, failing to develop rookie quarterbacks, whatever it is, I felt like last season they were just like, no matter where you turned offensively, there were problems. No matter where you looked, you know, didn't you could, you looked at the GM for leadership. Can you bring in reinforcements? No, there's no leadership. He's not meeting with the media. There's no urgency there. I kind of got that same vibe from Saleh. Obviously, with Hackett, the numbers couldn't run block, couldn't pass protect. Throw on top of it all the injuries. It was just, demoralizing last year. Like, man, we can't get a single thing right on the offensive side of the football. The only two bright spots are just Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall.
Yep.
So that was just what was really, frustrating for me.
Yeah, and I took all the blame for that. They're like, you brought Ian down. I'm like, no, the Jets losing brought Ian down. I take no credit for that whatsoever. I didn't enjoy it. Dude, I got so much blame. This chat was brutal, dude. Like, you're ruining JetsCentral. The poor guy, he looks sad. He looks miserable. Like, the Jets did this to him. But as we're like, what, less than a week away from mandatory minicamp. What do you think the biggest storylines are going to be? Is it, will Reddick report? Is everybody there? Like, what do you think the biggest storylines are going to be?
Oh, I think health, just staying healthy, I think is going to be like just the default biggest thing. But I think the Hassan Reddick thing is going to be pretty interesting too. Buffalo Jet fans in the chat hanging. Quick shout out to him. But yeah, I would probably say offensive line chemistry, health, and honestly, just like the Aaron Rodgers watch.
Yeah, that me too. It's like just get everybody out of there healthy. I think the excitement of the rookie, see what they're doing. I don't think Mike Williams is going to participate, right? I think those guys are still a ways away. So it's just enjoying what you have. I guess Aaron Rodgers doing his thing, but other than that, it's just get out of there. Just get out of there in one piece and get ready for training camp.
Yep. Yeah, 100%, man.
All right. Well, I gave you the first 20 topics. Was there anything you wanted to bring up, Matt? Because I came out, I was prepared because we finally had OTA news to talk about instead of the normal stuff. So I'm like, all right, I got some heat for you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask where, I know safety is kind of the obvious, or the thing that your mind kind of jumps to as far as weaknesses on the defense side of the football. But how do you feel about stopping the run with this Jets team? Because that to me is an underrated. We weren't great at it last year, and we lose, a couple of guys. To me, it's just I don't want to see this great defense with great pass rushers and great corners, great linebackers. It's well coached, fail to stop the run, and therefore we're on the field so much, and we just get beat down and kind of grind it down. Do you think stopping the run is going to be a problem for this Jets? Not necessarily saying worse in football or bottom of the league, but if we're, let's say top 5 in rushing the passer, but we're 22nd in stopping the run, that could skew some numbers and put the Jets in a kind of really in a tough situation for 2024.
Well, if you look at the Jets defense as it is today, the way you're going to attack it is run the football. That's because you figure the pass rush, assuming Reddick is here and everything like that, is going to be lethal. You have 2 good corners. Try to establish the run, make the Jets try to improvise and make adjustments, and then you can try to throw the ball on them. But it's a concern because I guess it's did they take a step back? Jefferson, everybody loved him. Everybody loved Al Woods. You have Kinlaw. What are your impressions of Kinlaw? Do you have a lot of faith in him? I thought he was kind of overpaid. I talked to a lot of my friends that were San Francisco 49er fans, bro, potential, talent, all this, it hasn't translated. It's not what, it's you want to see it, but you have faith in Saleh. Do you expect more from Quinnen Williams in the middle? Sama Thomas, these other guys? I don't know, man. I'm kind of concerned, to be honest with you, because that's the one thing that kind of bothered me. And I guess it's really truly your opinion on Kinlaw.
Yeah, and they also brought in Fotu from Arizona,
Yep.
who I think is going to be the primary run stuffer. But Kinlaw was always a guy who was, he was always more so a pass rushing defensive tackle.
Yep.
So as far as him coming in, and who knows, maybe he, looks a lot better because Salah and Ulbricht, they seem to maximize these guys' talents. But yeah, I would say maybe that's my only area of concern right now. That and like top end safety talent with this Jets defense. But outside of that, man, I think we're gonna literally be a top 3 defense. So
No, I mean we've talked about the last couple months. Like we think they're the best roster on paper in the AFC East. I mean, this is an 11-win, 12-win team. Like we expect that everywhere. It's like now you're nitpicking, trying to find little holes. Obviously, the first one is will everybody stay healthy? Tyron Smith, you kind of worried. Morgan Moses, like the older guys, Aaron Rodgers. But then it's like, all right, how are we going to attack? How are they going to attack our defense? They're probably going to try to run the ball. That's what we're going to do. And then our offensive line, can they hold their own so we can protect Rodgers or run the ball ourselves? So it's going to be really, really interesting, man. I'm just fascinated to see how it all plays out. Health is paramount, but like you mentioned earlier, we actually have depth this year. Like you feel better with the depth. I think if there was one thing where it's just, it's probably defensive tackle where you're curious to see how they do it. Because like I think this is a make or break year for Michael Clemens. I think he's really got to start making a significant impact game in and game out, or he may not be here, man.
Yeah, another player too, that was, in my opinion, like solid against stopping the run was JFM. He's no longer here too. So, we're definitely going to have a bunch of new faces on the defensive line. But then offensively, I feel so much better about a lot of different positions, right? Running back depth, quarterback depth, left tackle depth. Just overall the offensive line, I rest easy at night knowing that we have like comparable starters at every starting spot, and then a couple of solid backup options as well. And who knows, maybe it's not even a finished product, but with Bakhtiari and Donovan Smith still out there. But wide receiver depth, that's the one that I'm like, oh man, if Garrett Wilson gets tweaked up a little bit, or if Mike Williams isn't good to go, or if Lazard doesn't pick it up at all, that's like we're going to be kind of thin there. I can't imagine, right? If Garrett Wilson were to get, a small ankle tweak or something, he has to miss like a week or two of practice. Like it's going to be non 100% Mike Williams, Lazard, Brownlee, and Corley.
Yeah.
So either really young players or guys that just haven't really had that much experience with the Jets.
Yeah, and now I got another position for you that we really haven't talked about a lot. And I'll start by saying this. I like Conklin a lot. I think Conklin has done a lot with absolutely miserable quarterback play. Miserable. I think he can do a lot more. But behind him is Jeremy Ruckert, who we all love. Jeremy Ruckert has all the potential in the world. He's been banged up a lot, hasn't produced a lot. If Conklin gets banged up, look at your tight end position now. You have Yabo, you have Kuntz, you have Ruckert, all young guys, dude. Is that a position where you're like, you know what? Let's see how mandatory minicamp goes. Let's see how the start of training camp goes. We may have to figure some things out here because Ruckert, number 2, big shoes to fill, right? Even though I'm not saying Uzama was great. I'm never going to say that, but he was a competent tight end, right? You could at least call him that.
Right. The thing is with tight end, I don't think it's as important of a position for the Jets as wide receiver, or like left tackle or quarterback, obviously. So in the event that Conklin were to go down with an injury, that would of course suck. Like we would definitely miss him. But I don't think that would be like the main reason why we're losing games, as opposed to we lose Aaron Rodgers or we lose Garrett Wilson.
But I guess my that would be my kind of response to you, where you're saying, you know what, I have concerns about the wide receiver room, right? Just say Garrett Wilson is great. Mike Williams, can he come back? We talked about Lazard already, and you have all these young guys trying to find their way. So I'm like, all right, the way you can make up for a receiver room you're not really sure about is running backs out of the backfield and your tight end group. Okay, that we could do that. So I'm thinking Conklin could be a very, number 3 receiver in your team for all we know. But you get word, you're like, all right, Ruckert behind him, he's really, really got to step it up, man. You really want to stay healthy, make a strong push, and be part of the solution, not a part of the questions, I think.
Yeah, it's also super weird too, because like you look at the tight end position across the league, it's like one of these spots that it's almost like turning into like the new age running back, where these young guys are coming in and having instant success, whether it's like Laporta, Detroit, Musgrave, I think is a solid building block for Green Bay. Mayer looked good for Vegas. Kincaid for Buffalo looks really, really good. They got 2 young tight ends with him and Dawson Knox. They're Freiermuth in Pittsburgh. Like there's the tight end position is just It's interesting because I feel like you can get a solid one every year in the draft. Obviously, we're going to see what Bowers does this year for the Raiders, but I'm with you. I think if Rucker doesn't show improvement, or in the event that Conklin were to get hurt and we are struggling at that position, I think I could definitely see maybe a second round pick going to tight end next year.
Yeah. So Oscar the Grouch, your best friend, in my opinion, is guys like Surratt and Short are depth guys at best playing special teams. They are not starters and are not good enough. We still need to draft Mosley's replacement next year at linebacker. What about this year? I mean, are you concerned about the linebacker depth this year in general if Mosley gets banged up?
It's tough. I mean, the one thing that I do like about this staff is like I feel like whoever rolls out there at the linebacker position, there's so much talent around everybody. Like we got the corners, we got the pass rushers, that I feel like they can't really get exposed to too much. And also we don't have many like super young, like let's just say CJ Mosley misses week 2 against the Titans, and it's going to be Quincy Williams and Jamie and Sherwood there. I don't think that's, oh man, the Titans are going to run all over us, or oh man, they're going to throw all over us, or control the ball, or Sherwood's going to be confused, looking around like he has no idea what's going on. I don't think it's make or break like that. Like it would be with losing Quinnen or losing Gardner.
That'd be huge.
We're so deep in pass rusher, so like in the event that Johnson were to get hurt, we would still have Reddick and McDonald there to impact the passer. But let me quickly look up CJ Mosley's contract. How much longer is on there?
Well, he took less to stay here this year, right? He took a pay
I think
cut,
he did. I think he did. Okay, let's see.
His days are numbered. I think he's probably got one more year after this year. He'll probably be gone, I would think. But that matches the whole 2-year window of Aaron Rodgers, too. So I can see a lot of these guys being gone in 2 years.
No, okay, so he's under contract this season at a $7.2 million cap hit at 32 years old.
Wow.
And then he's under contract through 2025 with a cap hit of 12.7 with 4.2 guaranteed. So the Jets could essentially save, a decent amount of money there. What would it be? $8 million if they were to cut in 2025.
It's a 2-year window, man. It's a 2-year window.
Yeah, but it does look like there's a bunch of void years here. So 2026, 2027, 2028 void years that the Jets would have to pay. Granted, it would be a small amount, but yeah, I mean, if you're talking mid-30s, like Oscar was saying, like you kind of want to find a solid replacement.
Yeah, now we got a thank you, first of all, for the super chat. Regarding the CB room, I'm extending both Sauce and MC2. Odd man out is Reed. I think Quantez is the ball hawk they want to replace Reed with soon. Now, I agree with what you're saying here. I think Sauce obviously is going to stay. I get MC2 done in a heartbeat. 25 years old, becoming one of the top 5 in his position, which is great. He's only going to get better. Reed is tough. The whole thing with a rookie that came from the CFL, like I know we're all excited. He's showing out in OTAs, but I don't want to get to the point where we can cut DJ Reed now. We already got his replacement because he looked good in OTAs. I think the rookie class is exciting because the news is coming out about Braylon Allen, everybody else, but I'm still pumping the brakes on the corners. Like I'm not ready to say we already have DJ Reed's replacement on the roster.
Well, another thing too, it's like I feel like we can. Look at our corners now. Like Gardner was like at this all-time talent top 5 pick, but DJ Reed was scooped up from Seattle, who was like a cast-off with Saleh in San Francisco. He ends up with Pete Carroll. He kind of figures him out, puts him on the outside, turns it around. Michael Carter, 5th round pick. Eccles was a late round pick. Quantez is a late round pick. Like I feel confident in the Jets' abilities to find another corner if they were to let DJ Reed walk. Not like, oh man, we're going to be searching for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, if it is the guy they drafted this year, that's awesome. You can find guys. I like Eccles a lot. Now, Eccles is suspended the first game? Is it 2 games or 1 game? It's 1 game, right?
Yeah.
I've always liked the way he plays, man. I think he's more than serviceable if something happened to Reed, like in terms of depth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really too worried about the cornerback position. I think the Jets are, they'll figure it out. And then worst case scenario, right? DJ Reed leaves. We don't sign a free agent. Eccles is horrible. Quantez doesn't look like the answer, whatever it is, we could just go get one in round 1 next year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all good questions though. It's like we're all like kind of thinking like, trying to find holes and replacements. And there's a lot of excitement, a lot of depth, a lot of talent too, which is a credit to Joe Douglas. Like we're getting to the point now where finally people that are friends of mine that are not Jet fans are actually giving us credit. Like, dude, your roster's pretty damn good. I'm like, I know, like, just got to stay healthy. I'm like, we all say the same thing. Cause like, I think last year we bought into the Aaron Rodgers hype. The team had talent, but this year I think it's significantly better. You can see like, all right, there's been like quality upgrades here at the pivotal positions where you can say, like, listen, these are money players that have been there, done that, and play at a high level.
Yep.
So let's see, we got here.
Yo, hey Tyson, I think you cut out there right at the end, or at least I didn't catch it.
Oh no, I just said no. The replacements are quality replacements, like the free agent moves they made. Like it's like the roster, I think, is as good as we thought last year's team was going to be. We did like the whole preview show, like 11 wins, and Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Pro Bowl, and all these Garrett Wilson 100 catches. I think this team is overall just better on like just talent, and I think it's just their ability will be. The ceiling's a lot. I think the ceiling's higher this year than it was last year.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. I don't feel as like helpless going into this season in the event that a player doesn't work out or they get hurt. I feel like we actually have some solid plan Bs.
And now your favorite friend, Oscar. Will Zach Kuntz break the roster this season? Will he's our Brock Bowers?
I don't think so, man. I just think there's too many roster spots to go around. Like if we were a young rebuilding team, then yeah, for sure. But I mean, maybe he can get that third tight end spot if we want to, bring one on, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Well, but if he does well in preseason, I could maybe see something happen in there.
I mean, what's his face? Aaron Rodgers praises Yeboah a lot. The Jets seem to like Kenny Yeboah a lot. He's been sticking around a while. Maybe he has like some kind of breakout in training camp that surprises people.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time, and he was pretty damn good at Ole Miss.
Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting. We covered a lot here, man. This was an hour already. How was this an hour already?
This dude, I know we say it every time, but this one truly felt like 25 minutes.
We have things to talk about, finally. Sometimes we got to generate stuff, but now it's like we have like things we could actually talk about. And I think next week is what, the 11th is mandatory minicamp. I think it's what, next Tuesday it starts.
Let me look it up real quick. For some reason, I thought it was June 20th, but
what?
Let me see.
I think it's the 11th.
But I do think it's next week. Let's see. Mandatory minicamp 2024 dates. Okay, June 11th through the 13th. Mandatory minicamp.
Lots of news next week. Lots of news coming out next week. That's when we can overreact to all kinds of things.
Yep. That's when we should have an answer with the whole Hassan Reddick situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the big thing, too. And this is a great point from Afram, too. Rest in peace to Larry Allen, man. Crazy. That one caught me by surprise big time. Yeah, I think that probably the biggest story is, Reddick, there's a Reddick report, which hopefully he does. And then it's just like he's going to obviously meet the media because that's what they're going to do. Like, all right, what kind of contract demands do you have? That'll probably be the biggest story going into mandatory minicamp, I'm guessing, because the media loves this kind of stuff. Do they love like contract sagas with the Jets? They act like the Jets are the only team in the NFL that has these problems. Like, oh man, Reddick wants a new contract. So there's like what 55 other players in the NFL.
Yeah, dude, like T. Higgins. That whole situation is starting to boil over.
Yes, sir. I got my tickets. I just bought them 2 days ago, so I will be there. So I'm looking forward to that 100%.
That should be sweet, man. Thursday night.
Well, the Bengals, they have what? T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, right? Because Jamar Chase isn't done yet, is he?
No, he needs to get his extension, but he was drafted the year after, so he still has a little bit of time. But with another thing too is Higgins was a second rounder, so he doesn't just get that 5th-year option. So I just don't know how the Bengals are going to work that out because I mean you got to fit like Orlando Brown's making a ton, Burrow's making a ton, Chase will get re-signed at some point. They have a bunch of free agents on defense. I don't know. I just don't see how they could afford to bring, give T. Higgins, make him one of the highest paid receivers.
Yeah, there's some wild contracts happening right now. It's just crazy. as we look at this hour, we hit the hour mark. Is there anything we have else to cover here, man? We got to figure out like a set date for the show too.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm cool with Tuesdays. I mean, obviously, like work stuff pops up, which is why we're doing it today. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much down for whenever. Tuesday nights probably work best for me.
Is this true? Cortland Sutton did not show up. Another guy.
I think so.
Yeah, it's gonna be. This is gonna. Thank you guys. Yeah, well, thank you guys for checking us out tonight. This is just kind of like an OTAs contract stuff, and as the season, once we have, yes, I hate Sir Purr. Just so everybody knows, I still hate Sir Purr. Just so you know, Ian. Do you know what happened?
No, I don't.
we went to Jets Panthers, for the game down there in Carolina, and Sir Purr was, he's like probably 30 feet away from me. So I'm yelling, like, yo, dude, come over here. Let's take a picture or something like that. He completely blew us off. Didn't even like acknowledge us. I'm like, come on, man. Like, we're row 2. We're bothering nobody. And Sir Purr kind of just completely just ignored us, dude. So since then, after I was a supporter of his, he blew us off. I'm now hate him.
Was that the Zach Wilson?
Yes, it was.
Debut? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm trying to think the last time we played Carolina.
Yep.
Well, so yeah, we had the joint practice with them this past season.
Yep.
By the way, another little bit of news: the Jets are going to be doing joint practices with every team preseason, which I know is not for everybody, but I think they're pretty important.
Yeah, no, that's always good. But then it's interesting to see if the fights start breaking out. If they have to reel everybody in, and like how they if the starters play in the joint practices, a lot of times they don't play in the game. Like, all right, they've seen enough in the practice, they don't play in the game too. You know what I mean? That's kind of what Sal did last year, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Sir Purr, I don't like him anymore. So just in case you guys wondering. And I think that's it, right? Panther football. We got. You think the Jets will get a new stadium in the city? I don't think it happens. So. I don't think so.
I think step one is removing the turf.
Yep. Yeah. If they even do that. There was one. How are the undrafted free agents looking? There was a couple of stories. It was about what? It was about Watts and somebody else, right?
McGregor.
So
from Michigan, at the end.
So we'll see how that works too. So we appreciate you guys joining us. We're gonna do mostly on Tuesdays. Tonight was my fault because I had work stuff going on yesterday. And then that's it. We appreciate you guys joining us. You're good, man. You want to do our farewell?
Yeah, well, yeah. Thanks for watching. As always, go Jets. You can do it on your channel.
Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it.
See you guys.